نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. It's unfortunate that when we're in difficult circumstances, we sometimes kind of bend the rules a little bit. You know, when it comes to being in difficulty financially, or we need to make a purchase which is beyond our means, but we feel it's necessary, that's when, you know, we can become a little bit nonchalant, we can become a little bit carefree. You know, key times in people's lives, for example, student loan is a good example. So when we're taking out a student loan, we sort of justify it to ourselves that, look, you know, it's, you know, I may never give it back. Similarly, we kind of have those same arguments that, look, it's necessity. We use that word necessity without really understanding what necessity means, because necessity is actually a legal mechanism to determine how laws should be formulated. In fact, there's a book just over my shoulder which details, you know, it's a sizable book which details what necessity is, and that's a book specifically dedicated to it. So what we've done is, in fact in key transactions, we have now allowed interest to come into our day-to-day life. And by allowing interest to come into our day-to-day life, we have normalized it. And it is this normalization which is a problem. Because Islam is not just for our ritual acts. It's not just for how we pray. We wouldn't normalize praying styles, would we? We wouldn't normalize, or sorry, when I say normalize, let me just take a step back. We wouldn't change the way we pray. We wouldn't change the way we fast. We wouldn't change the way we perform pilgrimage. So like we can't change these ritual acts or not normalize the change and see it's not. So, you know, there is, when there's a will, there's a way. There's that phrase, isn't there? When there isn't a will, there isn't. And that's exactly the same when it comes to these transactions, especially these types of financial transactions, purchasing, whereby we are entering into these long-term, and these are long-term, you know, taking out a student loan, for example, is over 3-4 years, but it can easily go to 60,000-70,000 pounds. Paying 60,000-70,000 pounds back can take you 10-15 years. So don't just nonchalantly sleepwalk into these kind of transactions. Look at them, take due care and attention, take some scholarly advice, explore it, look deep into your heart and think that is an alternative way. And there is no guarantee that getting a job after, there's no guarantee of a job after finishing university. There is no guarantee of a job. Like there isn't a guarantee of a job of not going to university. And the difference is, in one case you're in debt, in the other case you're not in debt. That's a big difference. That's one difference. And there are alternative means of living rather than having to buy a house. And there's alternative means of buying cars. So there is means available. And alhamdulillah, if we support those brothers and sisters out there trying to find Sharia-compliant products, then inshallah you'll see that we can still do that. We can still go to university, we can still go and buy a car, we can still go buy a house. But what we have now is a Sharia-compliant method of making those purchases.